The ugly duck, or nobody would have believed that, or real and fake identities. This story comes from Christian Andersen, a Danish writer, but I placed it in modern times. My name is Pero, and now you hear my version of it. The mother duck is wistfully looking out onto the lake where her newborn ducklings are splashing in the water. They are innocently scurrying around in the water, protected by the presence of their father. Just the old mother must stay behind because one of her eggs, the biggest one of course, still hadn't hatched. No matter where you look, there are always the ones that come later than the others, the mother thinks to herself. Must be some sort of natural law. It just stinks that I, out of everyone else, have now been punished with such a laggard. I mean, you can't move properly for weeks, and I get so stiff that all your joints begin to crack, and in the end, one from the batch still thinks it needs to take its time, although I aimed for everyone to hatch at the same time. Life is often a torture. Her mother waddles by and says, "Get up and move, take a break and let me sit on it." Such a break was long overdue, the duck thinks, and she joins the rest of the family in the water. But suddenly a stork crashes down from the sky. He is targeting one of the little ones. With great effort, the ducks defended their newborns. All except one unfortunately got taken. Not the break that was originally intended by the mother duck. Well, there is one left as a replacement, the duck consoles herself. She waddles back to the nest and switches places with Grandma Duck to continue nesting. After a week-long delay, the time has finally come and strange-looking creature hatches from the egg. More grey and white than yellow, what should actually look like. Oh well, the mother thinks, my yellow ink must have been running out then. Can't you send him back? Asked Grandma. Something is wrong about him. I don't think so, answers Mother Duck. I signed the delivery slip, delivered as ordered. That means no returns possible. And the father also takes it as it comes and simply calls him the ducky. The siblings didn't listen closely to this name and always called him laggard. They didn't have any connection to the outcast. From the day one, they picked on him and bothered him whenever possible. The parents can't do much over that than prevent it from getting bloody. They rant. For good's sake, you rascal, can't you just leave your younger brother alone for once? He is not doing anything to deserve this. But they don't stop and continue attacking their grey brother. You are aware that you are the ugliest thing we have ever seen, right? You don't belong to us. As soon as the parents look away, they take the chance to bully him. They put so much stress on him that he develops a growth delay. But after 2 months, he is already much bigger than his siblings. And after the next attack, he rants. That hurts! Can't you just go pick some grass like any other duck instead of picking on my feathers? He turns around and fights back. Now that he is much bigger and has a physical advantage over them. And since then, they stopped picking on him. But whenever they meet up to play, for example, dive for the circle, they don't join him. You don't belong to us, they say. That's downright bullying, what they are doing to me. Is there anything you can do? Help me? He asks his parents. They cheer him up and say, don't worry, one day it will get boring and they will stop. You can swim perfectly and your personality is also great. We love you just the way you are. They later have family meeting which ends up in an agreement that the siblings are to accept him going forward. In the following 3 months, nothing major happens, and they let the laggard to do whatever he pleases. But they are just pretending. One day around lunchtime in October, the siblings push him into the water and keep his head under water so he can't breathe. With the last bit of strength, he swims back to the shore and thinks, this was definitely a conspiracy against me. He shivers and shakes and walks away towards the swamp where they can't catch him. He walks into the reeds and waits for what's coming next. After 2 hours, 2 geese pass by. He's got a few white feathers now, and one could mistake him for a goose. They shout at him from midair, come on, fly with us to the south where it is warmer. They say it's going to be a rough winter. He wondered if this could be his new identity, flying around in the world as a goose. But before he can decide, he hears a gunshot and 2 geese fall dead to the ground. And again he hears the hunters fire their guns, and the little laggard gets scared. He once again starts shivering and shaking, but he is calm and doesn't move at all. A dog runs by. Half a minute later he returns and says, would have almost missed you. You don't move at all. Why are you shivering? Were you hit by a bullet? No, I'm okay. I'm afraid of my siblings. And the ongoing noise scares me, says Leggard, who has never seen a dog before. And what are you doing? The hunters are the ones responsible for the noise. Don't you understand that? I do because I'm supposed to bring them a dead or half-dead animal. That's what I'm taught to do. I am the bird catcher, and my name is Jacob. You must be afraid of me, but your relatives? I don't quite get that. Yes, them. I ran away from my close relatives because they harassed me to no end. I almost died. In a sense, it doesn't even matter if you take me or they kill me. You are brave to walk around all by yourself. This could go wrong, you know that, right? I could catch and retrieve you, but tell me, why did they harass you so much? They say I am the ugliest from the litter. That is nonsense. It doesn't matter to my owners if you are ugly or pretty. All they want is a good piece of meat in their frying pans that they can fill up. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, is what they say and all around the world, but good food and drink keeps body and soul together. To put in other words, the world judges people by their beauty. My owners catch by the weight, and good judges if you brought joy to people's life and what good you have done for them. I won't do anything to you. I would just embarrass myself with such a haggard bird as you. You can stop shivering now. And at the same moment, while they were looking at each other, the dog remembered something his grandfather used to say. Listen, I remember a phrase my grandfather always said. When you are a little boy, you look like the Heavenly Father made you. After that, you can see the toll life has put on you. And as an elderly person, you look like you deserve to look. Well, it's look like the phrase from then. Your grandfather must have been a wise and funny dog. Yes, we got along quite well, but listen, I also want to tell you another story. When I was little, I was the slowest of the litter. They looked at me weird, and my siblings made fun of me. However, all of us were trained to be good for hunting foxes and deer. And they told me that I would be good enough for retrieve. I'm much faster than any of these hunters, so you see, speed depends on the one judging it. I can smell the blood of an animal half a kilometer away. None of them can do it, but I can. So again, you can see that the ability to smell also depends on the one smelling. So go ahead and don't let them talk you down. You are made for something. I must go before they call me a lazy dog. Goodbye. Jacob, the bird catcher, leaves behind a baffled laggard that now finds himself in a three-sided identity crisis. For one, he doesn't know if he is a duck after the geese wanted him to follow them to the south. On the other hand, he was told that it doesn't matter if he is ugly or pretty because he is too skinny. And lastly, it is supposed to get really cold and he doesn't know what's going to happen next. The only thing he knows for sure is that he can't go back to the ducks. The wind turned into a huge storm and started to howl. Twigs were flying around everywhere. It was an uncomfortable vibe outside, thought the laggard, and let the wind carry him away because he had no strength to go against the forces of the storm. After about an hour, he ended up in a garden. He walked towards a dilapidated hutch. The wind pushed open the door of the hutch and the laggard didn't think twice and went in, where he slept 2 days straight. He wakes up when an old lady comes into the hutch mumbling, "The door is crooked, but with what money I'm supposed to pay for these repairs?" In the same moment, she approaches the laggard and picks him up. "What have we got here? Did we get an addition in this house?" And she takes him into the house where he meets a cat and a chicken that have already made themselves at home. "May I introduce?" The lady introduces the cat to the feathered animal. "My pleasure," says the cat and arches his back and lifts his tail up straight. That's the signal that he is thinking about something. He points at the chicken and adds, "The one over there is called Paralysel, our all-rounder and egg-laying feathered friend. Lays an egg every 2 days or 3 days, which makes the lady happy." "My pleasure too," says Paralysel, all excited, and points at the cat. "And this is Brummy. He purrs if he likes anything. And if you pat him against the fuel line, you can see him getting furious. You already met our lady. She is almost blind. That's why she is walking so slowly. She is happy about you because she thinks you can lay eggs like I do, so she will definitely be feeding you. That's why she brought you in." All 4 of them are happy and laggards gets to go outside every day with Paralysel, and at the end of the day he can go into the warm house. They talk about what they have experienced in life so far, and Laggard talks about his identity problems. "Well, Laggard," says Brummy, and arches his back with his tail straight up. "Identity is something superficial. It's like a position in a theater play. You can settle with it for a while, but not forever. You can have all sorts of identities, but in the end, when you die, all of them will be taken from you. And if you settle for only one identity, you are not being flexible, and you will stop developing your personality. The reason behind it is that you are seen in a certain way by others and create your experiences from that. In a sense, it works like a platform or drawer. It depends. People need such drawers as a sort of orientation. Everything they cannot label worries them. And with the help of those drawers, they want to predict how someone will act in future. That creates security. But if you are not happy with that identity, it's a sign that it was the wrong one from the beginning. For example, Our Lady, she was already poor when she was a little girl, and also when she got older. She got used to it and made it her identity. There are enough examples of poor beggars that have left thousands. They didn't touch the money because their identity as a beggar would have been in danger. To cut in short, be happy in your crisis, because then you will be open to your next identity, which might suit you better. But the lady thinks I'm a duck that's about to lay eggs, right? Yes, she has misidentified you, just like your siblings. Listen, Laggard, As far as I can see, you are much bigger than a duck, and your feathers are getting lighter instead of darker as expected. So there is something wrong from the beginning, and you have to figure out what your identity is. You must give yourself the right name. But for now, the lady is feeding you, and you are profiting from the misunderstanding. Be grateful for it. With the chicken-like sounds you make, for sure the misunderstanding will not be resolved. Of course, one day she will notice that she mixed something up, but trust me, it will take time because people don't like to admit that they are wrong. They drag the disappointment with them for a long time because they don't want to admit that they have been wrong and won't seem to be strong. It's easy for you to say, says Leggett. No one questions that you are a cat, right? But in one aspect you are right. I don't feel right as a duck. I must force myself to act like a duck and sound like one. He fluffs up and his feathers by accident. That's how it would look like if it was up to me. Oh Lord, says Paralysal, our highness is meant for something better, huh? If it's a real identity, he must not brag about it, says Brummy. It should seem rather natural. That's exactly the difference. Continues the laggard. My identity as a goose isn't getting me any further either. I am an easy goal for the hunters. To witness that was a horrible experience. You are making a mistake if you deny an identity out of fear, says Brummy, just like pretending to be someone else because you are scared. Fear is a horrible advisor. And if you feel torn and exhausted, it's the wrong identity. You must not focus on what scares you the most or what would kill you. It is better to figure out what makes you happy on the inside, what you are passionate about, and what gives you the energy to start each day. And it's up to you to find out, to figure all out of this. Your feelings will help guide you. We will all die one day, but what matters is how you live, how your life until it's time to go. Yes, exactly, that's how I do it, says Paralysal. It wasn't that hard with you, Paralysal, says Brummy. You live in your own little paradise. You didn't have to fight for it because it was given to you as some sort of initial help to get on your feet. The disadvantage is that you never had to put it in an effort in order to understand what it means. As it gets closer to spring, the laggard gets kicked out instead of grains. We don't work well together. You must find somewhere else you can stay. The old lady chased him out of the house. It was so fast that he barely had a chance to tell his friends, "Goodbye, my friends. My stay has an end. It was nice meeting you." Oh, looks like I have to figure something out, thinks Leggard, and since he learned how to fly recently, he gets up in the air. He flies around and lands right by a lake and starts to get strong desire to get in and thinks, now I know what I was missing at the lady's house. Water and picking around it for food. So he gets into water and puts his head in the water to get a snack. Once he gets back to shore, he sees a group of kids that shout, "Oh, a new one! Look at him, how beautiful he is! A real swan!" And they throw pieces of bread and pie in the water. That's a better life than what I had in the lady's house, thinks the laggard. He never would have dreamed of such a luck as kid, and he bends his skinny neck and poses majestically and puffs up his feathers and adds, "This feels great, amazing." A group of swans swims towards him and welcome the young swimmer. "Well, hello there, fella. We are just passing through. You are one of us, so please don't be worried. We don't want to steal your territory. You are a particularly pretty one of our species." And he thinks, so I'm supposed to be a swan, for real? And he looks at his reflection in the water. Yes, that's right. It is decided. I have a red beak, a lump on my nose, and white feathers. Awesome, just awesome. I will call myself Mr. Svensam from now on. This was seen by a Bavarian heir to the throne, namely Ludwig II. He was impressed with how the majestic animal glides on the surface on the water. And all it takes is a little bending and stretching in order to be admired. You have to act arrogant and unapproachable for the people in order to be seen as mysterious and secretive. But of course, this was an incorrect presumption. Mr. Svensam was completely stoked after he understood what lay within him, whereas the king just wanted to show his superiority and make sure that no one gets too close to him. And to represent his position, he built a fairy tale castle and called it New Swanstein. It should have been called New Craziness Stein, of course. He wanted that all for himself. And he didn't understand that it was just for his artificial exaggerated identity. To complete this story, Richie Wagner wrote an opera with a swan in the leading role, and the protagonist was supposed to be something very secretive because no one was allowed to say the name out loud. Thought to say he had a veiled identity. Ultimately, he was not allowed to remain among the living. The heir to the throne hired the creator of the opera right on the spot. During the premiere of the opera with the swan, Richie Wagner lived in Swiss exile in a hotel called The Swan, of course. The opera is called Lohengrin, and the heir to the throne became King Ludwig II. But he didn't get to keep the castle for himself, because nowadays there are millions of people coming to visit the romantic dream to walk around. Others come to his luxury festival house in Bayreuth to admire Richie's operas. The king would have never even dreamed of that when he was king.